The unexpected ally. The starship Resilient drifted silently through the inky void of space, its stealth systems humming quietly as it approached the edge of an unexplored star system. Captain Samantha Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The scout ship's mission was simple: explore, observe, and report back to Earth without engaging any potential alien civilizations. Captain, we're picking up some unusual energy signatures from the third planet, Lieutenant Raj Patel reported, his fingers dancing across his console. It looks like weapons fire. Chen frowned, leaning in to study the readouts. Can you get us a visual? The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a blue-green world wreathed in wisps of white clouds. As they watched, flashes of light erupted from the planet's surface, answered by streaks of fire from a fleet of sleek, predatory ships in orbit. "My God," Chen whispered. "It's an invasion." The bridge crew exchanged uneasy glances. Their orders were clear: non-intervention was paramount. But as they watched the one-sided battle unfold, a palpable tension filled the air. "Captain," Paddle said hesitantly, "I'm detecting communications from the surface. It's a distress call." Chen's jaw tightened. She knew the risks of revealing humanity's presence to the galaxy at large. Earth was still recovering from its own global conflicts, and the prospect of getting involved in an interstellar war was daunting. But as she watched another salvo of weapons fire rain down on the helpless planet, she made her decision. "Open a channel," she ordered. "Let's see if we can lend a hand." The response was immediate. A hologram flickered to life on the bridge, revealing a creature that looked like a cross between a deer and a praying mantis. Its large, compound eyes blinked rapidly as it took in the unfamiliar humans. "Unknown vessel." The alien's voice crackled through the translator, a mix of desperation and hope in its tone. "We are the Zarquin. Our world is under attack by the Krax Empire. Please, if you have any means to assist us, we beg for your aid." Chen stepped forward, her posture straight and confident. "I am Captain Samantha Chen of the Earth ship Resilient. We've observed your situation and are prepared to offer our assistance. What can you tell us about the enemy forces?" The Zarquin's antennae twitched in surprise. You would help us. But you know nothing of our conflict." "We know enough," Chen replied firmly. "We see a world in need, and we have the means to help. Now, tell us what we're up against." As the Zarquin began to explain the situation, Chen's mind raced with possibilities. The Resilient was a scout ship, not a warship, but it was equipped with some of Earth's most advanced technology. More importantly, it had a crew trained to think outside the box. "The Krax outnumber us 10-1, the Zarquin explained. "Their energy weapons are far superior to ours, and their shields can withstand most of our attacks. We've managed to hold them off so far, but our defenses are crumbling." Chen nodded, a plan already forming in her mind. "Lieutenant Patel, analyze their shield frequencies. Dr. Yoshida, I want options for turning their own weapons against them. And someone wake up Chief Engineer O'Brien. We're going to need some of her crazy ideas." As the crew sprang into action, Chen turned back to the Zarquin hologram. "We may be small, but we're full of surprises. Hold the line a little longer. Help is on the way." The alien's mandibles clicked in what Chen hoped was a gesture of gratitude. "We will do our best, Captain. But please hurry. Our people are dying." Chen's expression hardened with determination. "We'll be there soon. Resilient out." As the hologram faded, Chen looked around at her crew. They were young, untested in real combat, but their eyes shone with a mix of excitement and resolve. They knew the risks, knew that they were about to violate every protocol in the book, but they also knew that sometimes doing the right thing meant breaking the rules. "All right, people," Chen said, her voice carrying across the bridge. "We're about to introduce ourselves to the galaxy in a big way. Let's show them what humanity is made of." The Resilient's engines flared to life, propelling the ship towards the embattled planet. As they approached, the massive Krax warships began to turn, their sensors finally detecting the small human vessel. Chen allowed herself a small, grim smile. The Krax had no idea what they were in for. Humanity was about to make its galactic debut, and it was going to be one hell of a show. "Battle stations," she ordered, her voice calm but filled with steel. "Let's go make some new friends and teach these Krax a lesson they won't soon forget." As the Resilient plunged into the fray, the crew felt the weight of history on their shoulders. They were no longer just explorers. They were Earth's first line of defense in a galaxy far more complex and dangerous than they had ever imagined. But as the first shots were fired and the battle began in earnest, there was no fear on the bridge of the human ship. Only determination, ingenuity, and the unshakable belief that against all odds, they would find a way to prevail. The galaxy was about to learn that when it came to humanity, the impossible was just another challenge to overcome. Unorthodox tactics. As the Resilient approached the Krax fleet, Captain Chen's mind raced with possibilities. Traditional warfare was out of the question. Their small scout ship was no match for the massive Krax warships in a head-on confrontation. But humans had always excelled at turning disadvantages into strengths. "Status report," Chen barked, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Lieutenant Patel's fingers danced across his console. "Krax fleet is moving to intercept. Their weapons are charging, but they seem hesitant. I don't think they know what to make of us." "Good," Chen nodded. "Let's keep them guessing. Dr. Yoshida, what have you got for me?" The ship's science officer, a petite woman with a razor-sharp mind, looked up from her station. "Captain, I've analyzed their shield frequencies. They're using a modulating pattern, but there's a split-second vulnerability every 17.3 seconds. Chen's eyes lit up. "Can we exploit that?" "Not with our weapons," Yoshida shook her head. "But if we could get close enough, we might be able to slip something through during that window." Before Chen could respond, Chief Engineer O'Brien's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, I've got an idea. It's crazy, but it just might work." Chen couldn't help but smile. O'Brien's crazy ideas had saved their bacon more than once during their deep space mission. "Let's hear it, Chief." "We've got those new quantum entanglement communicators, right? The ones we were supposed to test for instantaneous communication with Earth." O'Brien's voice was filled with excitement. "What if we could use them to mess with the Krax's systems?" The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The quantum communicators were cutting-edge technology, barely out of the experimental phase. Using them as a weapon was unheard of. "Explain," Chen said, leaning forward. "If we can get close enough to their ships during that shield vulnerability, we could transport a series of entangled particles into their systems. Then we use our end to create quantum fluctuations. It won't destroy their ships, but it could play havoc with their targeting systems, internal communications, maybe even their artificial gravity." It was audacious, completely outside the realm of conventional warfare. It was exactly the kind of thinking they needed. "Do it," Chen ordered. "Helm, plot an intercept course with the nearest Krax ship. We're going in close, real close." As the Resilient surged forward, the Krax fleet seemed to falter. Their massive ships, built for long-range bombardment, struggled to track the nimble human vessel as it weaved between their formation. "They're firing," Patel shouted as energy beams lanced out from the Krax ships. "Evasive maneuvers," Chen commanded. "O'Brien, stand by with those quantum devices. Yoshida, call out the shield vulnerabilities." The bridge shook as a glancing blow struck their shields, but the Resilient held together. They were so close to the Krax ships now that Chen could make out individual weapon emplacements on their hulls. "Shield vulnerability in 3, 2, 1. Now," Yoshida called out. Initiating quantum insertion. O'Brien's voice was tense with concentration. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, chaos erupted across the Krax fleet. Ships began to list drunkenly, their weapons firing wildly into space. Communication chatter, picked up by the resilient sensors, devolved into confused shouting. "It's working," Pakil exclaimed, disbelief and joy mingling in his voice. "Their systems are going haywire." Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before refocusing. "Contact the Zaraquin. Tell them to press their attack now, while the cracks are disoriented." As the Zaraquin ships surged forward, capitalizing on the unexpected advantage, Chen turned her attention to the largest cracks vessel, presumably the flagship. "Let's see if we can have a word with whoever's in charge," she said grimly. Using the confusion to their advantage, the Resilient maneuvered close to the cracks flagship. Chen opened a channel, her face appearing on view screens throughout the alien vessel. "This is Captain Samantha Chen of the Earth ship Resilient," she announced, her voice steady and authoritative. "Your attack on the Zaraquin people ends now. Withdraw your forces immediately, or face the consequences." The response came quickly, a harsh, guttural voice filled with rage and disbelief. "Who are you to make demands of the Cracks Empire? We will crush you and your primitive ship." Chen's expression hardened. "Primitive? Let me show you just how primitive we are." She nodded to O'Brien, who initiated another quantum insertion. The Cracks flagship's lights flickered, and Chen could hear alarms blaring in the background of the communication. "That was a warning," she said coldly. "The next one won't be so gentle. Withdraw. Now." For a long moment, there was silence. Then, to the astonishment of both the humans and the Zaraquin, the Cracks fleet began to retreat. Massive ships turned ponderously, limping away with their systems still in disarray. As cheers erupted on the Resilience bridge, Chen allowed herself a small smile. They had done it. They had faced down a superior force and emerged victorious. But she knew this was only the beginning. "Well done, everyone," she said, her voice filled with pride. "But let's not celebrate just yet. Something tells me the Cracks won't take this lying down. We've made an impression today, but we've also made an enemy." As the Resilient moved to rendezvous with the grateful Zaraquin ships, Chen couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. Humanity had just announced its presence on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. What would happen next was anyone's guess, but one thing was certain: the universe would never be the same again. Cultural exchange. As the dust settled from the battle, the Resilient found itself docked at a massive Zaraquin space station orbiting their homeworld. Captain Chen and her senior staff stood in awe as they were led through corridors that seemed to blend organic and technological elements seamlessly. Their guide, a Zaraquin named Deathworlder, clicked its mandibles in what the humans were beginning to recognize as a gesture of excitement. "We cannot express our gratitude enough, Captain Chen. Your intervention has saved countless lives." Chen nodded, her eyes taking in every detail of their surroundings. "We're glad we could help. But I have to ask, why did the Cracks attack you in the first place?" Deathworder's antennae drooped slightly. "Resources, primarily. Our world is rich in a rare element called quantum crystals. The Cracks Empire seeks to control all sources of it in the galaxy." Dr. Yoshida perked up at this. "Quantum crystals. Are these related to the quantum entanglement technology we used against the Cracks?" "Indeed," Deathworlder confirmed. "Though we've never weaponized them in quite the way you did. Your approach was most innovative." As they entered a large chamber filled with Zaraquin officials and scientists, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity's first major interaction with an alien species, and they'd managed to impress them with their ingenuity. The next few days were a whirlwind of cultural and technological exchange. The humans shared their knowledge of quantum manipulation, while the Zaraquin offered insights into their organic technology and sustainable energy systems. Chief Engineer O'Brien was in her element, poring over Zaraquin schematics with childlike glee. "Captain, their biomural circuitry is light years ahead of anything we've got. If we could adapt this to our systems, we'd increase our processing power tenfold." Meanwhile, Dr. Yoshida had formed a close working relationship with the Zarquin's lead scientist, Zelfar. Together, they were exploring new applications for quantum crystals that could revolutionize both communication and defense technologies. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Cultural misunderstandings abounded, leading to some tense moments. The Zarquin's hive-like social structure clashed with human concepts of individuality, and their radically different biology led to some awkward situations in shared spaces. One evening, as Chen sat with Salvora in an observation dome overlooking the planet below, she voiced her concerns. "I worry that we're moving too fast. Our peoples are so different. How can we be sure this alliance will hold?" Salvora's compound eyes seemed to shimmer in the starlight. "Is it not our differences that make this alliance strong? You humans have shown us new ways of thinking, of problem solving, and we, in turn, have knowledge and resources that complement your innovations." Chen nodded slowly, considering the Zarquin's words. "You're right, of course. It's just, back home, our history with cultural clashes isn't exactly stellar. Nor is ours," Salvora admitted. "The cracks are not the first species to covet our world. But perhaps that is why this alliance is so important. Together, we are stronger than we are apart." As if to underscore Salvora's point, an alert chimed on both their communication devices. It was a message from the joint human-Zarquin research team. They had made a breakthrough in adapting quantum crystal technology to enhance the resilience shields. Chen couldn't help but smile. Well, I guess that's progress. But their moment of satisfaction was short-lived. As they made their way back to the main command center, alarms began to blare throughout the station. Lieutenant Patel's voice crackled over Chen's communicator, tight with urgency. "Captain, long-range sensors have picked up a massive energy signature heading our way. It's the cracks, and this time, they've brought an armada." Chen's expression hardened as she exchanged a look with Salvora. The brief peace had been just that, brief. Now, the true test of their fledgling alliance was about to begin. "How long do we have?" Chen asked, her mind already racing through potential strategies. "At their current speed, less than 48 hours, Patel reported. Chen nodded grimly. "All right, let's get everyone together. Humans and Zarquin. We've got 2 days to prepare for the fight of our lives." As they hurried through the station's corridors, Chen felt a mix of fear and determination. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing an enemy with a serious grudge. But they also had something the cracks didn't: the combined ingenuity of 2 species, each with their own unique strengths. "You know," Chen said to Salvora as they entered the bustling command center, "on Earth, we have a saying: necessity is the mother of invention." Salvora's antennae twitched curiously. "And what does that mean?" Chen's lips curved into a small, determined smile. "It means we're about to get very, very creative." As humans and Zarquin gathered around, ready to pool their knowledge and resources, Chen felt a surge of hope. They had 2 days to prepare for an invasion force that, by all conventional wisdom, they shouldn't be able to defeat. But conventional wisdom hadn't accounted for this unlikely alliance. The next 48 hours would determine not just the fate of the Zarquin homeworld, but potentially the future of human-alien relations throughout the galaxy. And Captain Samantha Chen was determined to make every second count. The Empire strikes back. The next 48 hours were a blur of feverish activity. The Resilience crew worked tirelessly alongside their Zarquin allies, integrating technologies and devising strategies that would have been unthinkable just days before. In the heart of the Zarquin space station, Captain Chen stood before a holographic display of the system, surrounded by a mix of human and alien faces. The approaching Cracks Armada was represented by a menacing red cloud, dwarfing the combined forces of the Zarquin and the lone human vessel. "All right, let's go over the plan one more time," Chen said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Chief Engineer O'Brien stepped forward, her red hair disheveled from endless hours of work. We've managed to adapt the Zarquin's bioneural circuitry to enhance our quantum communication system. We can now create larger fields of quantum disruption, which should give us an edge against their fleet. Zelfar, the Zarquin lead scientist, clicked his mandibles in agreement. And we've incorporated your shield frequency modulation techniques into our defensive grid. It should make our planets and stations far more resilient to their energy weapons. Chen nodded, a spark of hope kindling in her chest. Good. What about offensive capabilities? Lieutenant Patil cleared his throat. We've worked with the Zarquin weapons specialists to develop a new type of quantum torpedo. It uses the crystals from their planet as a focusing agent for a concentrated burst of tachyons. In theory, it should be able to penetrate even the strongest crack shields. In theory, Chen repeated, arching an eyebrow. Patel shrugged, a wry smile on his face. We haven't exactly had time for extensive testing, Captain. Well, we're about to get a real-world trial, Chen said grimly, turning back to the holographic display. The cracks will be here in less than an hour. I want every ship, every station, and every planetary defense system ready. As the others hurried to their positions, Salvor approached Chen, its compound eyes reflecting the red glow of the holographic cracks fleet. Captain, I must ask, are you certain you wish to stay? This is not your fight, and you've already done so much for us. Chen turned to the alien, her expression resolute. We made it our fight the moment we decided to intervene, Salvor. Humanity doesn't abandon its friends. The Zarquin's antennae quivered in what Chen had come to recognize as emotion. We are honored to call you friends, then. May your human deities watch over us all in the coming battle. As Salvora moved away, Chen allowed herself a moment of reflection. She thought of Earth, of the reports they would have sent back if their mission had gone as planned. Instead, they were about to engage in the first interstellar war involving humanity. The weight of that responsibility was immense, but Chen knew every member of her crew was prepared to bear it. Captain, Patel's voice cut through her thoughts. The Cracks fleet has dropped out of FTL. They're here. Chen straightened, her voice carrying across the command center. Battle stations, everyone. Let's show the Cracks what happens when they mess with our allies. The space around the Zarquin homeworld erupted into chaos as the massive Cracks fleet engaged. Energy beams lanced out, meeting the enhanced shields of the Zarquin defenses. To the Cracks' surprise, their initial salvo did far less damage than expected. Aboard the Resilient, Chen watched as the battle unfolded. Status report. Shields holding at 92%. Paddle reported. The Zarquin defensive grid is at 87% and holding steady. Cracks seem to be recalibrating their weapons. Chen nodded. Good. Let's not give them time to adapt. Launch quantum torpedo spread. Target their lead ships. The newly developed weapons streaked across space, their brilliant blue energy contrasting sharply with the red beams of the Cracks. As they impacted the enemy shields, there was a moment of tension on the Resilience bridge. Then, explosions blossomed across the hulls of several Cracks battlecruisers. Direct hits, Patil exclaimed. Cracks shields are fluctuating. They're actually vulnerable. A cheer went up across the bridge, but Chen quickly refocused them. Stay sharp, people. This fight's far from over. As if to underscore her point, the Cracks fleet began to adapt. Their ships started moving in tighter formations, concentrating their fire on specific points in the Zarquin defense grid. They're targeting our weak points, Exalvor's voice came over the comm. Our southern hemisphere stations are taking heavy damage. Chen's mind raced. They needed to disrupt the Cracks' coordination, throw them off balance like they had in the first encounter. Then an idea struck her. O'Brien, she called out, remember how we used the quantum communicators to mess with their systems before? Can we do that on a larger scale? The chief engineer's eyes widened as she caught on. The enhanced quantum field. Captain, if we can get close enough to their command ship, we might be able to create a cascade effect across their entire fleet. It's suicide, Patel protested. We'd have to drop our shields to generate a field that large. Chen's expression was grim but determined. Sometimes you have to roll the hard six. Helm, plot a course straight for the heart of their fleet. All power to engines and the quantum array. As the Resilient surged forward, plunging into the midst of the Crack's armada, Chen opened a channel to all Allied forces. This is Captain Chen. We're going to attempt to disrupt the entire Crack's fleet at once. Be ready to hit them with everything you've got the moment their systems go offline. The human ship weaved through enemy fire, taking hits but pressing on relentlessly. On the bridge, consoles sparked and crew members were thrown about, but no one wavered from their duty. We're in position, O'Brien shouted over the sound of straining engines and impacting weapons fire. Initiating quantum field now. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a wave rippling out from the Resilient, a visible distortion spread across space. Crack's ships began to list and drift, their weapons falling silent and shields flickering out of existence. Now, Chen ordered. All ships, open fire. The combined force of Zarquin and human weapons lashed out, tearing into the suddenly vulnerable Crack's fleet. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes, and for the first time since the battle began, the tide had truly turned. But the victory came at a cost. The Resilient, its shields down and systems strained to the breaking point, was now helpless in the midst of the chaos it had created. As debris from destroyed Crack ships battered the hull and warning klaxons blared across every deck, Shen gripped her command chair tightly. They had given their allies a chance at victory, but at what price? The fate of the Resilient and the brave humans who had chosen to stand against an interstellar empire hung in the balance as the battle raged on around them. Humanity's legacy. As the Resilient drifted powerless amidst the chaos of battle, Captain Chen and her crew braced for the worst. Debris from destroyed Crack ships battered their hull, and without shields, it was only a matter of time before a stray shot or collision spelled their doom. Damage report, Chen called out, her voice steady despite the dire situation. Lieutenant Patel's fingers danced across his flickering console. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 7, emergency force fields holding. Main power is offline, running on auxiliaries. Weapons and propulsion are non-responsive. Chen nodded grimly. They had succeeded in disrupting the Crack's fleet, but at a terrible cost. Status of the battle. The Zarquin are pressing their advantage, Patel reported, a note of hope in his voice. Crack ships are falling by the dozens. But Captain, we've got incoming. Chen's head snapped up to the view screen, expecting to see a Crack's vessel bearing down on them. Instead, she saw something that made her heart leap. A Zarquin ship, maneuvering with incredible precision to position itself between the Resilient and the remaining Crack's forces. We're being hailed, Patel said, surprise evident in his tone. The screen flickered to life, revealing Salvora's insectoid features. Captain Chen, your sacrifice will not be in vain. We're extending our shields around your vessel and preparing for emergency tractor beam. Chen felt a surge of emotion, gratitude, relief, and pride in the alliance they had forged. Thank you, Salvora. We owe you one. As the Zarquin ship locked on to the Resilient, more Allied vessels moved to surround and protect them. The battle continued to rage, but now the tide had definitively turned. The Cracks, their coordination shattered and their technological advantage neutralized, began a hasty retreat. Hours later, as the last Crack ships fled the system, Chen stood in the Zarquin space station's medical bay. Her crew was battered but alive, thanks to the swift action of their alien allies. As she looked out at the mix of humans and Zarquin working side by side to treat the wounded and repair damage, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Zalvora approached, its movements showing signs of fatigue, but its compound eyes bright with victory. Captain Chen, words cannot express our gratitude. Your actions have saved our world and perhaps changed the course of galactic history. Chen smiled, though the expression was tinged with weariness. We're glad we could help, but I have to ask, what happens now? The Zarquin's antennae twitched thoughtfully. The cracks have been dealt a significant blow, but they will return. They must be opposed not just here, but across the galaxy. Zalvora paused, seeming to choose its next words carefully. We would like to propose a formal alliance with Earth. Together, we could stand against the cracks and any other threats that may arise. Chen's eyebrows rose. This was far beyond her authority as a scout ship captain, but the implications were staggering. That's a generous offer, Zalvora. I'll need to contact Earth. Explain everything that's happened. This is bigger than just our ship now. Of course, Zalvora agreed. But know this, regardless of your world's decision, you and your crew will always be considered heroes among the Zarquin. We would be honored to count humanity among our closest allies. As Chen looked out at the stars, her mind raced with the possibilities. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage in a way no one could have predicted. They had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious, not through sheer might, but through ingenuity, adaptability, and the willingness to stand up for what was right. In the days that followed, as the Resilient underwent repairs and the crew recovered, Chen found herself in countless meetings and debriefings. The quantum communicator, miraculously still functional, allowed them to make contact with Earth. The reactions from home ranged from shock to excitement to concern, but one thing was clear: everything had changed. Earth's governments debated the implications of the Resilient's actions and the potential alliance with the Zarquin. Some argued for caution, fearing the dangers of getting involved in interstellar conflicts. Others saw the tremendous opportunities for advancement and protection that such an alliance could offer. As the discussions continued, Chen and her crew worked tirelessly to strengthen the bonds between humans and Zarquin. They exchanged knowledge, refined their combined technologies, and began to understand each other's cultures on a deeper level. Weeks turned into months, and finally, a decision was reached. Earth would accept the alliance with the Zarquin, taking its first official steps into the larger galactic community. On the day of the formal treaty signing, Chen stood proudly in her dress uniform, watching as human and Zarquin representatives made history. As the ceremony concluded, she found herself approached by a high-ranking Earth official. "Captain Chen," the official said, extending a hand, "your actions have opened up a new chapter for humanity. We'll be expanding our presence in this sector, establishing proper diplomatic and defense forces. But we'll need experienced leaders who understand the complexities of our new reality." Chen straightened, sensing what was coming. "Sir," the official smiled, "how would you like command of Earth's first official interstellar defense fleet? We're calling it the Vanguard Initiative." As Chen accepted the promotion, she felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. But along with it came a sense of excitement and purpose. Humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as protectors, innovators, and allies. The Resilient's unexpected journey had become humanity's first steps into a larger universe. As Chen looked out at the stars once more, she knew that the greatest adventures and challenges still lay ahead. But whatever the galaxy might throw at them, she was confident that humanity, with its unique blend of ingenuity, determination, and compassion, would be ready to face it head-on. The legacy of the Resilient and its crew would echo through the stars, a testament to what could be achieved when different species came together in the face of adversity. And as humanity ventured further into the cosmic ocean, that legacy would light the way towards a brighter, more united future for all.